Hey friends, we are in November, which means we're in the final stretch of this first semester. You're doing great. Thanks for tuning in and seeking help and being so diligent. My assignment today is to look at this Doctrinal Mastery review lesson. Remember, this is an optional one. So if you're behind in something or need to do something else, or you haven't taught all the Doctrinal Mastery passage lessons yet, that's what you should do instead. If you're on track and this would be helpful for your students, let's dive in. I wanted to just give a few thoughts on how I might approach this lesson as we're looking, first of all, at a principle of memorizing scriptures. I like this idea that the manual says maybe ask students, if you're surveyed for the strengths of the youth, what are the top 5 reasons for memorizing scriptures? It might be fun, and I might ask this. Give me 5 reasons why teenagers today don't memorize as much as your parents and grandparents did. And that could be fun just to highlight the differences. We've got phones in our hands. We've got access to everything. We don't have to remember it. I think it's okay to highlight some of the differences of the generations. But then you can switch that and say, okay, can you give me 5 reasons, though, why it might, even in the modern age, be a good idea to memorize scriptures, and have some fun with that. There's a reference here to Richard G. Scott's quote, and where he talks about scriptures being friends. Let me just give you a pro tip here. I decided that I'd just go and I'd Google Richard G. Scott, scriptures are like friends. And then I'm looking at the images. So I clicked on images because a lot of people make cool images. And I found some great Richard G. Scott quotes that I might want to use. If I wanted to show a quote, I might want it to look nice. And so I found this one. It is a good idea to just do a quick Google search to make sure that all the words are right, and it actually came from Richard G. Scott in a form, an approved source. And so, but you look at this quote, this is a good one. The scriptures can form a foundation of support. They can provide an incredibly large resource of willing friends who can help us. A memorized scripture becomes an enduring friend that is not weakened with the passage of times. I could see you showing that and saying, that's pretty interesting. And just asking students, what do you think he means by that? That scriptures can be an enduring friend. And then going back to our lesson manual, I like this question a lot. How could memorizing scripture affect your relationship with Jesus Christ? And so we're just helping students really see that there's value in it, and it's attached to my relationship with Jesus Christ. So in that context, it'd be great to have some things memorized. Now here's one thing where I would change, because I think that's a good start to the class, but then in the manual we have a review of some scripture phrases and references that, to me at least, doesn't quite match the power of what we've just established. Later on, we have an activity where we're going to do some memorizing, maybe some writing out. I would do that right now. I would say, oh, let's make a new friend then. So let's memorize a scripture. Here it says maybe you can have them pick something. I might even choose our last scripture that we did for Doctrinal Mastery, because it's just right there and it's powerful. And I think students can learn it. It is actually a scripture about scriptures, and that's why I might choose that one. And to take 10 minutes to just memorize it using some style of your choice. You can have teams of 3, each take a verse and say, you got 45 seconds. Can you memorize your verse? And then we're going to have you stand, and one student will do 15, the next will do 16, the next one will do 17. And you have everybody do that, and then you can switch. Or you can have the whole class, let's just do verse 15 together. And we're going to quote it a few times, and we're going to read it, and then we're going to close one eye, and then we're going to close both eyes, and then we're going to see if we can say that verse. And just some repetition until they have all 3 verses memorized. And just, again, ask, so why would you want these verses to be your friend? And to have them memorized. And we can see that scriptures help us, just like we learned last week, make us wise, increase our faith, give us access to inspiration and reproof and doctrine, and help us to be more righteous and become more like Jesus. It's a good friend to have. So my sequence would be, if I were teaching, teach the principle of friend, make a friend, and then with the remaining time, if we go back, up here we have a review activity. There's a handout that you can give with the scripture references and phrase, and this is just a review. You notice that all of them for the remainder of the year are listed. You can focus on just those that we've done so far, so minus the final 5 or 6 of those. And you can do any type of activity. You could do 3 at a time, sometimes breaking these down into small segments of if you're going to do a matching game or just to review, to do a couple at a time. You want students to feel success. If you were just to say, we're going to do a game with all of these, it might be a little overwhelming. We want students to have success. So make it easy and then slowly expand. And so we can just have a review, and you can choose one of the ideas from the manual here on how you review it, or come up with your own. At any rate, these review days are intended to be helpful. They give you time to be flexible with what you need to do. If you want to review your students' reading goals and encourage them and teach some principles about powerful scripture study, do that. But have a wonderful end of the week. Thanks for watching.